I'm wondering what your thoughts have been on Taylor the last few days, not just in the games, but kind of how he's been in returning to real basketball.
I think he's done great. I mean, I think there's a lot to improve. I think it's all happening kind of fast, and that's to be expected. He hasn't seen live bodies in a year. So there are elements of him, he's gotten physically stronger, and you can see that in certain plays. But when you look at his teammates, for example, they have a year of processing and reading live bodies, and Taylor's just really getting back into that. So I think he's handled himself well. He played a lot in the San Antonio game. We tried to extend the minutes for a bunch of the guys from a conditioning standpoint. Obviously, overtime puts different pressures on that, and we made the decision to pull Taylor out in that moment. But I think he's played well. He hasn't tried to do things he can't do. I think he's played really solid. His physicality, length, size shows up defensively and on the glass. He's definitely winded. A lot of the guys are, but you can see it with him a little bit. But I'm really pleased with where he's at this point in camp. I think he's further along than even I expected.
Medically, with Taylor, is there going to be any sort of restrictions on him, like back-to-backs early on in the season, anything like that
We're going to see how he gets through camp. Those decisions are going to be made in those moments. Again, I think if you had told us that he was going to play 32 minutes in his second preseason game, I would have said you're out of your mind. But the way that he's progressed physically, the shape he's in, all the testing that we do on the guys, he is in a really good place.
Okay, fans are very excited about how he's been playing, and I'm curious, from a coach's point of view, what are you most pleased with what you've seen in the first couple games?
The part I'm most pleased with is I think that he has the ability to impact the game on both sides of the ball. Obviously, there's been shot making in a variety of ways. His energy shows up with his cutting. He's not just jump shots. I think you're seeing him cut, crash, and dig out some loose balls. He shoots some threes, some pull-ups. So there's a lot of exciting things offensively. His energy is a strength, and he's a great athlete, and he's a quick thinker on the offensive side of the ball. I think defensively, he's shown that he can use his length and he can really move his feet. There were a couple of plays on Durant in the first game where he did a really good job of staying in front and making him shoot over the top, and Kevin Durant's a great player. But the most exciting thing for me by far is that I think he's ultimately going to be able to impact winning on both sides of the ball.
What's kind of the process of discovering what he's good at and what he can do?
Well, we do a good amount of that in practice, and then there's also a lot of it in games, different actions that we put him in, trying to see what it looks like. Obviously, we have to do a good job of not overreacting to the result, good or bad. Just because that shot went in do we think that that's plausible long term? Or if he misses one that we think, oh, that was a really good action and he executed it well and read it well and he just missed that one. So it takes a lot of conversation with our staff and really watching. We also have to the hard part is we all want to know, now, what is it? How good is he going to be? And we don't know, and we can't know yet. So I think we, the staff, I think we probably handle it better than the fans do, but we have to do the same thing they're doing, which is we all have to wait, and we have to give him time to play enough to understand him better and say, oh, this is a real strength of his, and this is an area he can improve, and wow, he's better at that than we thought. So we're all having to restrain ourselves from making, proclamations right now about what he is or isn't. The thing that he for sure is he's obsessed with basketball, and he's shown an incredible ability to learn. He's shown the willingness to ask questions and admit the things that he's unsure of. You know, he and I have gotten to watch some film together, and he's really, really bright. And his ability to see the game and to learn on the fly has been very impressive for a young player.
You've seen Brice's progression from just what he did in summer league to even his 2 first preseason games, and while it's not in season, where have you seen kind of his confidence showing up in that sense? Because you can kind of feel when a player is playing with confidence.
Yeah, Brice has done a much better job in the last 6 months of recognizing when he doesn't need to dribble. I think it's not uncommon for young players who have been focal points of their teams in the past to you're used to having to dribble to make things happen. And Brice understands that his greatest weapon is his shooting, and he's shown the ability to shoot off the dribble, but I think the reads he's making on catch and shoots, whether that's passes to the perimeter to him, coming off of screens, or even sitting in that little dead space on a handoff, I think he's seeing those moments way better offensively. I think he's improving as a team defender, which is the most important thing to me and to us, is that if he can do those things, the team defense parts, weak side help, weak side rotation, communicating coverages, I think it's going to allow his unbelievable ability to shoot the ball to continue to shine through. And that's what we're doing with kind of the whole team, is that there's a difference between you personally improving your skills and us improving foundational things that will help us win.
Along those dribbling lines, Ace has had a couple of attacks from the perimeter where he's getting to the rim with one dribble or no dribble. That's not something he did a lot of Rutgers. Is that something you're teaching him? Is that something he just knows how to use his body?
I'm not going to take credit for, Ace's individual ability. We're obviously putting him in some situations that he hasn't been in a ton. But I think that's because he's showing us that he can do those things when we've, asked him to do it in practice or in the games. I'd say it's probably a similar experience to Lowry's first year here, in the sense of some of the situations that we were putting him in and trying with him were not things that he had done or we had seen much of him doing in the NBA. It doesn't mean that he's not capable. Ace deserves the credit for his ability and his willingness to be put in a bunch of different spots, playing with a bunch of different guys. So I'm excited about it, but his instincts are really, really good.
Walt has had some kind of slow starts, or like a slow first quarter, or a slow first game in summer league, and then seems to rectify it really quickly. Are you seeing that he's a quick learner, and what have you seen from his ability to recognize something and fix it?
Yeah, I think Walt's a really quick learner. I also think Walt has a huge chip on his shoulder, and I really enjoy coaching Walt because he has an edge to him, and I love that. I love coaching guys like that get a little salty in different moments, and part of it is because he's frustrated that he's not playing as well as he wants to, or made a mistake on that possession. And so I think it's a combination of his intelligence and his competitiveness in those moments where he's like, no, screw this, I'm going to get it right. He's also dealing with a lot. He's playing point guard and trying to organize a group that hasn't been together much. So, I have to have some perspective on the environment around him and how that impacts him as well. I thought early in camp, and in particular in the first preseason game, he was a little careful. He was almost trying to be the good guy on every play and make the perfect read, where the reality is if he's open, he should shoot it.
Are there things that you're, between now and opening night, are there things that you want the team to, I really want to get this down before season tips off, goals that you
Yeah, I think there's a bunch of them. I mean, right now we're really, really focusing every day on the urgency and the communication and the multiple efforts that it takes to play defense in this league. And everybody has to be willing to put their body on the line in different moments. It's not about one person. We have to defend as a group, and we have to be relentless. I think the team has shown some really good pockets of that in camp, and I never want them to use fatigue as an out and say, oh, we were playing well and then we got a little tired. Like, whether that's true or not doesn't matter. I want them to be collectively thinking that they can give more. And then offensively, there's tons of things to clean up, spacing-wise and execution of this action or that action, but I'm really pleased with the willingness of everybody to share the ball and the way the ball is moving around. And our turnovers were down in the second game, which was a good sign. But I think the intent of the team on that side of the ball is right where I'd want it to be. So obviously we're folding a few guys back in as they're getting cleared, and that's going to impact some things. But I'm pleased at this point in camp.